Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
We're the Relay for Life Ceremonies and Awareness Coordinators. I'm Grace.
I'm Brooklyn.
And today, the guest on our first Strength in series is Brooklyn.
Yes, I will be sharing my story about my mom's journey with pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Okay, we're going to jump right on in. Okay, so can you tell us a bit about your mom and the role she played in your life?
Yes. So my mom was probably the most selfless and kind person I've ever met. She had this big smile and this contagious laugh, and she was always the one who would wait till everyone got their dinner first before she served herself, and she'd always just try and make everybody happy, and so many people would say their days were better after talking to her. Aww. And so she's incredible. She was a huge role model to me. She still is. She's my best friend. She's my rock. I told her literally everything. We have the same brains, so all my craziness she understood. She could back me up. Yeah, she's my best friend, the best mom I could ever ask for, an incredible role model, and just honestly an incredible person overall.
Well, I think you really embody some of those traits.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
all of those.
Thank you. I'm also told I look like her, so...
Yeah, I've seen a picture you guys look like.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when was your mom diagnosed, and how did your family cope with that?
Yeah, so she was officially diagnosed at the end of August 2020. But it was kind of she had gotten sick before. She was sick for a while, and so I knew there was something going on.
Yeah.
But my parents didn't actually tell me about the diagnosis until the end of August. And it was really difficult, especially because it was right in the middle of COVID. So that made it a lot more difficult for our family to cope.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things I think that helped us was our friends. My mom and my dad have really close friends that are all they're all uncles and aunts to me. And so they came, they cooked us meals. They cooked my mom special meals that she could digest and stuff, and they would drop them off on our front porch, and they would our neighbors would look after our dog when my mom had to go get treatment. And her one best friend who was kind of in our circle, I don't know if you remember
the bubble.
Yeah. She was in our bubble. So when my dad and I would have to go to work and school, she would go and she'd bring my mom. They went on all these really wild adventures just to random local places. They went and saw this really big statue in the middle of a cornfield.
Okay.
They went to a sunflower farm.
Okay.
Just all of these she couldn't go far, but all the places she could go. But it was really, really difficult. Obviously getting this news is not easy.
No.
And it was still I think that conversation is one of the hardest I've ever had to have.
Of course.
I remember very vividly, but I think the support we got from our friends and our family just made and our family was incredible too. They came and visited whenever they could, socially distanced, and they were really supportive of me and my dad, so it was incredible.
It's nice to hear you still had some level of connection despite isolation protocols and everything like that.
Yeah, and it was very difficult. We couldn't go into treatment with my mom. We had to just drop her off, and she'd go for her 7-hour chemo, and we couldn't be there, which was really hard.
Yeah.
But we'd be there right after. We'd spend time after together. And yeah, our friends and family would FaceTime us. My one friend and I FaceTime every night.
That's so nice.
Yeah, which was really awesome.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that despite the circumstance there was still a level of connection, but I can't imagine how hard it would be hearing news like that.
Yeah, it was unimaginable, but
yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges your family faced? Now, I know you sort of touched on not being able to go in with her, as well as distance challenges. Would you say there was other sort of paramount challenges?
I think what was really hard was, especially, I guess it was kind of exasperated by the fact of it was COVID and we couldn't really go anywhere but home. I guess things opened up. My dad had to go to work, but everything was just my entire life was just cancer. My mom couldn't really escape it because she was at home.
Yeah.
It was just everywhere, medications and all these different things. That was really, really difficult. So there wasn't a separation between like home and like treatment. It was all like
Right.
there. So that was, I think, difficult on all of us. Also, like, my dad had to work, so I was like my mom's main caregiver, which was difficult.
Yeah.
And then that was also like straining. Like, my dad was at work, so my mom was like alone when I had to do school. Like, that was really difficult. And like, obviously it was all of our first times like dealing with something like this. So like, I'd never dealt with this much grief before. My parents had like lost their parents young, so they kind of knew. But I had never coped with this, so that was like a figuring it out, and we were all figuring out how to deal with one another. But like, it really, like, the like 6 months that she like went through this journey, like, we became very close as like a family, because there's just three of us and my dog. So she definitely helped. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of challenges, but it was great to have that like support to work through them together.
Totally. And just for the listeners, 2020, August of 2020, how old were you then?
I was 15.
Yeah, so that's obviously a lot for anyone to take on, let alone a 15-year-old. So,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Did your mom have a particular perspective or attitude that helped your family navigate this time?
Yeah, actually, there was like, she was very hopeful, incredibly hopeful. And I remember one specific moment, we were like outside. She loved to just sit on the porch and watch the water, because we live on a lake. So I would sit outside with her and just watch the water with her and have tea. And we were outside, and she was like, Brooklyn, she just pretty much told me like she was feeling like a lot of hope, and she said, I'm gonna be an inspiration to other people going through this. Like, I'm gonna be hopeful, and I'm gonna stay positive, and I'm gonna inspire other people to do the same thing. And just like hearing that, like, that just made me like, I was like, she's showing so much strength and like resilience, like quite literally in the face of like a terminal diagnosis. Like, unfortunately, there was no light at the end of the tunnel, and she was still being positive and optimistic and so incredibly strong. I think that pushed my dad and I to be stronger and like feed off of that and like find positive moments through that. I mean,
it's such a terrible story.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. She sounded like she was very inspirational.
She was incredible.
Wow. Are there any lessons or strengths that you've taken from your mom's experience or your own experience?
I think definitely like both. So again, from my mom, just like I said, seeing her like optimism and her hope, and like, I feel a lot of people very much so like in faced with such like awful situations, like it's really easy to be negative and lose hope, and and that's totally fair. But like, seeing my mom in that situation, like just being so optimistic and like still caring about, she was still like making sure we all had we were taken care of to the best that she could, and like she was always like, is this too much? Like, she was always just caring about other people, even when she was going through something like that. So that was just so inspirational. And like now, like, anytime I have a challenge, I just think like of the resilience and like the courage she had, and like, if she can get through that, I can get through whatever's ahead. So moving forward, like when she did eventually pass, and like the grief journey, like I would just try and like channel the strength I saw in her, and like knowing like I can get through it. And I learned a lot about myself. I mean, like I said, I'd never been through something like this before. And you learn a lot about how you cope with things, and you learn a lot about, you get a, like, I feel like I've now, it's nothing's like, everything can be overcome. Like, I feel like I've been through something so hard, like, and I saw my mom go through something so hard, like, I don't know, it just feels like all the other obstacles are more obtainable now.
That makes sense. I mean, I can't imagine what that would feel like, but it does make sense. And I feel like you really embody that spirit, just seeing everything you do at Queen's.
Thanks, Grace.
Yeah. Okay. Has her journey influenced your perspective on life, which I feel like we sort of touched on. But what about your goals, do you think?
Unfortunately, again, and it was like there was just so much going on, unfortunately, with like COVID and like everything. I know like there was a lot of times where my mom sometimes fell through the cracks a little bit, like in the healthcare system, and like it took a really long time to get her diagnosis. And that's also the nature of pancreatic cancer. Unfortunately, it's really easy to miss because the symptoms are so like, it's like she got back pain and she was bloated, and it was all like very
could be
anything. And so, but seeing that, and there was also on the other side, like there were some incredible people that she worked with, like her oncologist, one of the most incredible people I've met her once, but she still checks in, she donates to like this fund that I set up for my mom every single year. On Christmas she donates. She was so great with my mom.
That's so nice that you had like a nice positive experience for some of
it was incredible,
such a terrible journey.
And like especially because she had to like give my mom that news without anybody there. She was so supportive of her. She always kept her informed. She never beat around the bush. She told her as it was and gave her all of her options. She was incredible. And so seeing both sides, I think that really influenced me to become involved in healthcare in some way.
Totally.
Just because like being able to like connect and be with someone through such like a difficult time, like I just think that's just so special, that connection that you have with somebody. And seeing how my mom's like journey and her life and her journey with cancer was influenced by her oncologist in such a positive way. And then also how like some interactions she had with like nurses and stuff that like were just so positive and made her experience so much better. Like there was this one nurse who she thought was really cute on the oncology.
That's something my mom would say.
Yeah, she told me about him all the time. But she loved seeing him, and he would just like crack jokes and like make her day so much brighter. So just seeing that, I think that really influenced like me wanting to get involved in healthcare and be someone like that for somebody else.
Totally. And I could totally see you being someone like that. And you're equipped with so much knowledge, that lived experiences and stuff than most people. So
thanks.
Okay, so what motivated you to get involved with Relay for Life, and why do you think Relay is important?
Yeah, so the first experience I had with Relay was actually one of my mom's best friends. Her husband was diagnosed with brain cancer a while ago. I was like 5 years old, but they all did Relay for him. So I went with my mom and I dropped her off there, but because I was 5, I wasn't allowed to stay for the overnight thing. So I went home with I think my aunt or something like that. But my parents stayed, and so I knew about it. And then obviously when my mom went through all of this, like when I came to Queens and I saw that we had a Relay for Life like event and committee, I just knew I wanted to become involved, because you just like there's not that many clubs that do so many like hands-on things to like raise like. We've raised so much money for the Canadian Cancer Society, and like you see, like we meet the people that we're helping. We're able to meet like the survivors of the month that we get to help, and meet the like survivors at the survivor reception, or the people who come who are currently experiencing a journey with cancer, and just seeing that like and being a part of like the team that's able to raise money and know like we're gonna help you and other people, like that was just, I think that's what like inspired me to join Relay for Life.
Totally.
And also just to become a part of like a team of like-minded people and people who've had similar experiences. I think we all have some sort of really incredible why as to why we're a part of the committee, and being able to be a part of such a passionate group is like, it's incredible.
It is. Yeah. It is awesome. It is nice hearing everyone's whys. I feel like that is a super important part of Relay.
It's very motivating.
And it's so cool that you were introduced so young. I feel like I didn't really hear about Relay till probably high school.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately my high school didn't have a Relay for Life. So the 5-year-old that was my first and like only really until Queens.
Oh, well, we're so happy you're on our committee.
So happy to be here.
Yeah.
Was that the full question? I don't know if I answered the whole thing.
Why do you think Relay for Life's important? I feel like you answered that perfectly. It is nice too. I agree. You can really like see what you're doing. You're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like, it all feels very real and tangible, everything we do. Okay, so what do you hope people take away from hearing your mom's story and your family's story?
I think that it's really important to, like obviously, like, spreading awareness about, like, cancer and, like, people who like survive, and like celebrating survivors is incredible. And like but I feel like a lot of times we just see like the outcomes. I don't know if there's like a lot of awareness around like the journey and like how it impacts the friends of the people who are experiencing it, and the family and the loved ones.
Totally.
And so I think it's really important to like share that, and like it just like going through it gave me a lot more appreciation for the work that like Relay does, and raising money for the Canadian Cancer Society, because it doesn't just go to research, it goes to making this journey easier for people, and funding initiatives that, you know, make going to treatments easier and make things easier on the families. So I feel like just getting a better awareness of like the journey, and then just like seeing how important like hope and like community and support can be, like even when there's nothing you can do like medically for somebody, they have a terminal diagnosis, the support that you give them, the love, the time, the quality like time that you can spend with somebody, and like the support that you can give someone, like that just, it truly like changes somebody's life.
Yeah, I think that's super evident. I like when you talked about the support from your family and your friends, like you really lit up. So it really does show those things really matter, especially in such like dark times and with such challenging stories. So I think you did a really good job highlighting that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you could share one message with others who may be facing a similar experience, what would it be?
I think my mom, like I said, was really big on positivity and just being hopeful and trying to see the light in every situation. So always know that there's positivity to any situation. Doesn't matter how dark it seems, there's always some light somewhere. And if you can find that and hold on to it and hold on to hope, like things will be better.
Oh, that was really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for giving me the platform to do so.
Oh, well, thank you also for setting it up.
Of course. No, but I appreciate you chatting, and I think I'm so happy to share.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.